Let's start segment 3 with some language work. In relating events, actions, and situations from the past, we've used a number of verb tenses. Today, we're going to explore yet another verb tense to tell of these long ago events. Let's work with the past perfect progressive tense. Let's look at some facts from previous video, the one we just saw. Early Americans hunted megafauna. They used spears and atlatls, and some of them lived in cities and grew corn. Now, to form the past perfect progressive, before we use these facts to form the past perfect progressive tense, let's look at how the tense is formed and why you may want to use the past perfect progressive tense. Okay, the past perfect progressive has 3 parts. The first part is always the helping verb had. The second part of the past is a past participle of the verb be, and that would be the word been. And the third element is the present progressive form of the verb. Now this is formed by adding ing to the present tense of the main verb. The past perfect progressive tense is good for relating an action that was ongoing in the past, but stopped happening at some point. So let's look at some examples. Native Americans had been hunting megafauna for many years before these animals became extinct. Native Americans had been using spears and atlatls when game was large. Some had been living in cities before those urban cities and centers were abandoned. Now let's look at some more examples. Some Native Americans had been creating stratified societies during the Mississippian period. Now that implies that the creation of those societies took place over time, but that it ended when the Mississippian culture or period ended. The ice sheets had been melting, creating new places on which to settle. Native Americans had been living in an icy world for centuries before the Ice Age ended. Here are some more examples. The Inca Empire had been expanding before the arrival of Europeans. People on the Pacific Northwest coast had been prospering from an abundance of the ocean. Native Americans of the Columbia River Plateau had been harvesting enough salmon to sustain them while the river ran free. Huge herds of bison had been living on the Great Plains, and people of the plains had been hunting bison on foot before the horse appeared. Early Americans had been settling in areas never before lived in by humans before population expanded. So as we've demonstrated, the past perfect progressive verb tense is a very effective way of relating a past event that was ongoing for some time that stopped happening at some point in the past. The past perfect progressive tense is formed by using the helping verb had and the helping verb been before the main verb in the present progressive tense, the ing form. Now at some point in this unit, we'll compare and contrast all these verb tenses, but that will happen in a later episode. For now, we've reached near the end of episode 90, but not quite. In our study of Native Americans, we've used a fairly linear approach. We started with the arrival of the first Americans to the continent. We've traced that development of Native American life using the best evidence we have, and we've continued this epic story of discovery and settlement within 1,000 years of Europe's entrance into the area. Now, this is a good time to learn about how Native Americans lived when the continents were both theirs alone. Now, for students in elementary school, this may be your introduction to Native Americans. Let's look at a few books that show how some of the Native Americans lived. Now, here's a book that's called Indians of the Plains, and it's at the child level. In other words, it kind of not really beginning level, but just a little bit beyond that. And so it's easy to read. And you shouldn't be afraid of picking up a children's book, because that has the most simple language, and you're reinforcing your vocabulary by doing that. Now here's another book called The Indian Crafts. And Indian Crafts is just that. It's telling you about the crafts that Native Americans were able to do with things. And again, you can pick up a lot of vocabulary. Now I should say that these books written for children are fairly, let's just say, general, and sometimes perhaps not giving you a whole lot of deep understanding of the subjects of Native Americans. But they're a good way of getting your language together so that you can go further in your study. Now another book is Indians of the Eastern Woodlands, and this is an example of taking an area and seeing how Native Americans adapted to the conditions in that area. Now there's some more books that I will share in subsequent episodes, but for now that's just an idea of some of what's available out there. So, you know, I love to hear from viewers. You can send me email at LetzCreatePro@gmail.com. Be sure to visit my website, LetzCreate.org, to see the support materials for this episode, including the videos we feature. Click on the link to the Native American unit on the home page and navigate to the episode 90 page. You can watch and even download this episode and more from archive.org/details/rogue-tv. All episodes are there. Enter Ramping Up Your English in the search box and choose the episode you want. Ramping Up Your English can be seen on RVTV on Channel 15 on the Ashland Home Network, and on Channel 182 in the rest of Southern Oregon on Charter Cable. You can stream Ramping Up Your English for free from rvtv.sou.edu. I want to thank my director, Denise Ross, and my talented and dedicated crew, and I want to thank you, our viewers. All of you helped make this program an award winner. Join me next time for Ramping Up Your English. I'm John Letz.
You've been watching Ramping Up Your English, a support program for intermediate level English language learners. Learn more. Visit our website at LetzCreate.org. You can also watch or download today's program at archive.org/details/rogue-tv. Join us next time on RVTV Voices for Ramping Up Your English.